So today we're going to be going over 10 fragrances that stand out the most out of my entire collection. And what I mean by that is every time I wear these, they always seem to garner some sort of attention. Really, with each of these here, they've kind of cracked the code for that particular DNA, for that particular type of scent to wear. For whatever reason, they just almost always work without fail. I know for a lot of you guys, that is a major selling point, you know, being able to have something that always stands out, always works out there in the crowd. And that's what we got today. 10 fragrances for you, a nice little mix of different genres, so no matter what you're into, you're going to find something here that you're really going to like. Let's get it. Starting off with Pure Excess by Paco Rabanne, just the original. Vanilla, sugar, liqueur, and myrrh are some of the main notes. So I've talked about this one many times before, but this is fantastic stuff. One of my all-time favorites from Paco Rabanne, and an absolutely incredible flanker. Pure Excess Night is also really good, but in my opinion, if you want something that's going to be playing it safer, you're probably going to want to go with this one. It's warm, it's sugary, it's sweet, it has a little bit of this sparkling, boozy brightness about it as well, almost a little bit of a freshness, so it strikes a really nice balance here. And one of the other things about this, I find it to be super unique. And you may not always think that. You may never expect to see unique and Paco Rabanne in the same sentence. I know they do get hated on a lot, the brand does. But this is one here where even if you have it out against Paco Rabanne, you know, when you think of them, you think of 1 Million and Invictus and all the super loud, sweet fragrances that you may not like. I urge a lot of you guys to give this one a try if you're on the fence, because you may end up really liking it. I'll tell you, going into this, I wasn't expecting wonders, but it ended up becoming one of my all-time favorites. One that I reach for all the time in the fall and winter time, and of course, one that always turns heads. Next up, Armani Code Absolu, another fantastic flanker. This one here, out of all of the flankers in the line, is probably going to be my favorite. If I had to choose, it's going to be this one. I don't want to have to choose because I like a lot of the ones here. Profumo, Colonia, even the new Code Eau de Parfum, I like them all. But if I had to choose one out of all of them, at the end of the day, it would be this one. Vanilla, tonka bean, and suede are some of the main notes. And for me, that sold me initially, right off the bat. When this was first coming out and I saw the note breakdown before I had a chance to smell it, I'm like, yeah, I know I'm going to be in for something good here, and it didn't disappoint. You know, a lot of times you may look at a note breakdown and you may think it's going to be really good because it has some of your favorite notes, but then when you actually smell it, it's not at all what you were expecting. And that happens. That's one of the things where, you know, you can get really good at looking at note breakdowns and to see if it's going to be something that you're going to like. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to how the fragrance was created, the budget, that sort of thing. Sometimes it may put notes in there that aren't even at the forefront. You can hardly even pick them up. So something to be careful of. But I can tell you guys, if you do like vanilla, tonka bean, suede, those are some of the key players here, and you're going to like this one. Obviously, it's in this video for a reason. It always stands out. Out of everything in my collection, this one always does incredibly well, and it makes sense. Up next, we have a cheapie, F Black Pour Homme by Ferragamo. So, you know, every time I go back and smell this one, it still, to me, is incredible. And this was one of the first fragrances that I ever got. Not like one of the first, but within probably the first 10 or 15, I would say. So, you know, compared to my collection now, yeah, it's definitely one of the first for sure. But, you know, I smelled this the first time and I was really quite blown away by it. You know, it has this lavender, black pepper, tonka bean makeup here. That's primarily what you get out of this one. So it's very spicy. It's very masculine. One of the things that this gets compared to is La Nuit de l'Homme. I disagree with that. I think it's quite a bit different. Sure, they do share lavender and they both share a spicy opening, although with different types of spices. I think it's a little bit of a stretch. But I guess maybe you could draw some slight similarities if you really tried hard enough. The point is, this is a fantastic signature scent for the cold weather if you don't want to spend a lot of money and if you want great performance. Normally those things don't add up very often. Cheap, good performance, great smell, but this one, it checks off all the boxes here. Not to mention, big head turner. Next up, a fragrance that just has always worked ever since the beginning, and I know it works for a lot of other people as well. Ultra Male by Jean Paul Gaultier. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is so potent, so powerful. And actually, shout out to one of my channel members, one of my Chaos Parfum members. You know who you are. We have a group chat together, and he was asking which one he should get between this one and Le Parfum. And he ended up getting both. And he sprayed this one on, and he was blown away by it. He absolutely loves the fragrance now. And so I'm super pumped that I was able to help guide someone in the right direction to pick this up. He's really enjoying it. He really likes Le Parfum as well. So if you guys want to become a Chaos Parfum member and chat with me in a group chat and, get some advice from me and the other members, hit the join button down below. But yeah, this stuff here is fantastic. It has vanilla, pear, cinnamon. It's very fruity sweet in the opening, dries down while still being very sweet, but some of that pear does wear off. This is one of my favorite fragrances. It may sound weird, a lot of people who maybe have a big collection built up maybe would say that they hate this fragrance, and I understand where people may not like it due to the sweetness, but I really enjoy it. I've said it before, it's like my guilty pleasure fragrance. I love everything about it. Next up, Parfums de Marly Herod. So we've got a niche fragrance here. This is actually the only niche fragrance in this video. The truth is, when it comes down to putting together a video like this, head turners, always working to garner attention, that sort of thing, some sort of Parfums de Marly always has to make it in. And the reason why is because all of them, for the most part, work. At least all the ones that I own. And that could be anything from Leighton to Carlisle to Herod to Sedley to Percival, right? Some of the fresher ones. They all just seem to work. And that's what I love about Parfums de Marly is they're a luxury brand. They have, in my opinion, really good presentation, very heavy, very high quality feeling, great high quality scents, but at the same time, those scents are mass pleasing. They're very accessible in terms of most people being able to like them. These aren't cheap fragrances, but if you do invest in them, then you know that you'll be able to wear it for a lot of situations and get some good feedback. Herod is one of them. Tobacco, cinnamon, and vanilla are some of the main notes. It's really all you need to know. That's the main players here. That tobacco is incredible, fantastic tobacco fragrance while still being wearable. There's a lot of great tobacco fragrances out there, especially when you venture into the niche side like this. Mancera Red Tobacco is another fantastic one. But I find that Herod strikes a really nice balance of still being very likable, still being a great compliment getter. And again, out of everything in my collection, every time I wear this, without fail, it works. Performance is also great, like you would expect from Parfums de Marly. Again, these fragrances are an investment because they are not cheap, but it's a worthwhile investment. Next up, we have Mugler A Men by Terry Mugler, or I guess just Mugler nowadays. Coffee, caramel, patchouli, and vanilla are some of the main notes. Love this stuff. If you like coffee fragrances, if you want something that's a little bit similar to Killian Intoxicated without spending the money, this is going to get you in that ballpark. Now, these are kind of hard to find sometimes, these Mugler fragrances, Pure Malt, Pure Havane. They're getting harder to find. I do have a link down below where you can get this one, the original, so that's something that you can check out if you are interested. I try not to include Pure Malt, Pure Havane, that sort of thing, as they are getting harder to find now. But this one, at the time of this video, can still be picked up for around $50, which in my opinion is a really good deal. The patchouli gives it a little bit of an earthiness, the vanilla is adding some sweetness, the caramel gives it kind of a syrupy sweetness as well, and of course that nice roasted coffee. This is different, this is unique. Not your typical mass-pleasing scent for sure, and not everyone may love this, it depends on what you're into. But one thing I know, out of everything that I have, this just always seems to work. And it makes sense. It is different. It is unique. It's something that people may smell in the air, and they're almost captivated to say something to someone. Once they find out who it is, they're just like, I just have to say, like, that smells great. What is it? Maybe they want to buy it for their significant other, or maybe they just want to know, whatever. It always works. Next up, The One Eau de Parfum Intense by Dolce & Gabbana. Cardamom, leather, and cashmerean are some of the main notes. So while this may not be one of my personal favorite fragrances in terms of its smell, what I do know is that it always works. It's another head turner. It's another one of those fragrances that most people really love how it smells. For me, the cashmere note is something that I've had to warm up to. When it's used at the forefront, it kind of isn't always my favorite. As I've been testing and wearing more fragrances with that note being at the forefront, I've started to warm up to it. And so I'm starting to come around to fragrances like this and Dior Homme 2020, that sort of thing. After all, it does appear that that's going to be the next trend, the Cashmerean ISO-E Super, so I might as well start getting used to it. And there's no denying that this here is a modern smelling men's fragrance. A lot of you guys can pick this up and make it your signature scent, and it'll do great for that. I like how it has some leather in here. It gives it just a bit more of a masculine touch. Kind of substituting that tobacco in the original Dolce & Gabbana, The One, which is giving off that masculine vibe, and kind of replacing it with leather, and then also, of course, a lot of cashmere and woods. Great fragrance. It's a good performer as well. Great quality. All around, it works like a champ. Up next, we have a fragrance from the almighty Yves Saint Laurent. No, it is not Y Eau de Parfum or Y Le Parfum. Those could easily be in here because they do work really well. But yet I have another one that also works really well and deserves a bit more attention because YEDP and even the new Parfum are talked about a lot by myself, of course, and many others. This one is L'Homme Le Parfum. Amberwood, geranium, and violet leaf are some of the main notes. I've talked about this one quite a bit on the channel as well, so it's not a hidden gem by any means. But I love it. I really do. This one kind of got, hated on a little bit when it first came out due to the comparisons to blue fragrances, due to the fact that it may not be that unique or exciting for you. And it's definitely not unique or exciting or challenging, but that's not what they were going for here. I ordered this from overseas, not this bottle, but the bottle that never came. I ordered it from overseas. That package got lost. I had to file a claim. It was a big order, and so basically I didn't get to get my hands on this at the time everyone else did and did their first impressions and stuff when it first came out. And so when all of that happened, other new releases were coming out. Essentially, this got pushed to the back burner. I forgot about it at that point. Not until in the middle of this year, I ended up picking it up for a buying guide video. I started wearing it a lot, and I'm like, holy crap, I actually really like this. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. A lot of the reason being because of the other reviews out there, but I really started to love it. And now still, I love how it smells. Really pleasant. One that I can, wear for days in a row if I wanted to. And of course, this is another head turner. It just stands out. It has the nice balance of fresh and sweet and a little bit bubblegummy, but not too much. Nice and clean, kind of citrusy. It just works like crazy. Next up, a bottle which you know all too well, Sauvage. Parfum version. So, hey, it's not the eau de toilette. I found that the Parfum really does incredible also. And, for me, I still love the eau de toilette. I'm a big fan of Sauvage, believe it or not. I don't feature it anymore because of obvious reasons, like Aventus gets talked about all the time. But it is one that I do really enjoy. And Parfum, I like when I want something heavier, perhaps for the fall and winter. Sandalwood, olibanum, and bergamot are some of the main notes. So it's warm, creamy, smooth, woody, but there is still some of that fresh Sauvage DNA in here. At first when it came out and I tried it, I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't, in love with it. I still preferred the eau de toilette and even the eau de parfum more. Over time, as I've worn those others so much, I kind of start to gravitate towards something that's not just super fresh, something with a little bit of a depth to it, a little bit of a complexity. Not saying that it's complex or challenging, but in comparison to the eau de toilette, there are some more complexities in here. I really like how this comes across. It's a fantastic performer, as you would expect for being Sauvage and also a Parfum. Performs great. I mean, that just is gorgeous. I love how this comes across, and without fail, it always works. And last up, the newest release out of all of these ones here, but one that has been absolutely crushing it, Prada Luna Rossa Ocean. So this one, is a little bit strange given the name in comparison to the smell, because there's no aquatic notes. I don't pick up on any sort of watery nature. I don't know. I don't think really the name was the best idea here, but, it gets the job done. Lavender, bergamot, iris, and suede are going to be some of the key players here. So the iris, quite interesting. Maybe not something you would expect in an ocean-named fragrance with a blue gradient, but it does come across really well. It's not super lipsticky like in Dior Homme Intense or something, for example. It's a fresher variety of iris here, which complements the bergamot and all of the other fresher notes really well. Let's give it a spray and enjoy this one because I do really enjoy it. Now, I'll admit, at first, when I tried this one, and you can watch my first impressions, I was a little bit, I was a little bit wavery on it. I don't think that's even a word. I was a little bit on the fence, I guess. Wavery. Let's make that a word here on the channel. But yeah, this to me at the beginning, when I first smelled it, wasn't exciting. And while it's not exciting now, I've started to pick up on some other nuances that make it really enjoyable for me. After I gave it some more time on my skin and after I've tested it many more times on my skin, I pick up on more of the suede. I even pick up on more of the iris than I did initially off of that first impression. So you gotta keep in mind, first impressions is basically the opening and that's it. And so now that I've had more time to test it, I've come around to it a lot. And while it is going to fit kind of within that blue fragrance territory a little bit, it's also off in its own direction. I mean, you got to think Prada already did their blue fragrance in this line with carbon. Basically a carbon copy of Sauvage, Eau de Parfum, kind of. So that's kind of where that one fits. This one, while it may come across that way in the opening, starts to go down a different path. And for me, I enjoy it. And of course, like you would expect, it's a great compliment getter, great head turner, and it just never fails to work. Alright guys, there you have it. That is 10 fragrances that stand out the most out of my entire collection. Now there's some other ones as well that could be put in here, but really I didn't want to do a top 20 list or beyond, so I narrowed it down to these 10. If you guys really like this video, I can do a part 2, but if not, here you go. If you want to buy any of these, I will link them down below to Discounter so you can grab them at a cheap price. And remember, if you want to chat with me in a group chat, get your questions answered, if you want a little bit of a consultation, you need help choosing your next scent, if you want to watch these videos in advance, check out some vlogs, check out the channel memberships. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.